Digging
I'm
up
tired
a
of this,
hole.
Grandpa.
Oh,
That's too dang bad.
digging up a hole. Yeah, let me know when y'all ready.
I'm waiting on you.
All right, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages over the age of 18, welcome to the Three Good Guys
It
podcast.
is a family show.
It is a family
Okay,
show,
just
but
making sure.
you know, when we upload to YouTube, YouTube asks, is this for children? No, we never say this for children.
Yeah, I guess it technically wouldn't be for.
It's not for children.
Yeah, but children are welcome. Anyways, this is the
Absolutely.
Three Good Guys podcast. Hope y'all are doing well. My name is Miles. To my right, we have
Rodney.
and to my far right,
Leonard.
and we're going to jump into a fun episode today. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear to everybody, at least it should be in some capacity, and that is fatherhood. And so we're going to jump into a few different things regarding fatherhood, but I think Leonard wanted to get us started with something.
Yeah,
something to share.
absolutely. Last week we had mentioned fatherhood in some capacity, and it made me go into research, and I saw that I think it's 43% of African American households have two-parent households, and that number is low. So I really wanted to talk about the impact of fatherhood and how that really influence people, change their lives. And so I just wanted to start with you guys, just speaking on what impact did your father have on you.
Who wants to go first?
You know what? I guess I'll start it off. My impact of my father is immense. So, of course, your father, especially as a young boy, it's like your first hero. Like your first
Definitely.
everything. You look to them for everything. You literally think their pockets never run dry of money. Like you're like, oh man, he was able to buy this food for me, and I can ask him for anything, and he provides it. So, of course. Then you find out later on in years that wasn't the case, but he made it. He made it happen for you.
Yeah.
And just as far as his influence, he's kept me in church, kept me grounded. My dad was always is somebody who sacrifices for his family, even at his detriment. He will go above and beyond for within his means, within his power, to make sure that we were taken care of. So, thankfully, we had a childhood without much lack. We were able to live well growing up, and so I really appreciate my father for that. He actually set a lot of things in stone for that.
Yeah. So my dad, he said your dad's your first superhero, and in a lot of ways, by the time I was like 13, I was really impressed with my dad. That's when I realized, he is really strong. He is legitimately strong. And
fast.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to that next. He's really, really fast. Not kind of fast. Leonard here was he was pretty decent in football. And I wouldn't say he was slow.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say he was slow.
Okay.
But I would say Daddy was faster up until his back wouldn't let him be. And there was nothing you could do about that.
We're talking about father's influence. I'm not going to say anything disparaging right now.
Okay. But anyway, so yeah, my dad, he's had a massive influence on my life. Everybody says I'm the most like my father. I look the most like him. I act the most like him.
True.
Which probably means
All true.
I'm the most disciplined. That's the way I'm going to take that.
That is a stretch.
Wow.
You got that from that?
Now, he did say most so
Most.
maybe not in all things.
Okay.
No.
But yeah, my dad's been a massive positive influence. One thing I can say that sadly not enough people can say, my dad's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's huge.
Always. Even sometimes I didn't want to be, but he has always been there.
Yeah.
Tell the truth about that.
Just thinking of just the different lessons I've learned from my father, and of course they're countless, but one lesson I've definitely learned is sacrifice. He didn't have to teach it. He didn't have to say anything. As children, you learn from your parents just by observing them, and I've seen my dad sacrifice for everything for his children. There's nothing he wouldn't do for us, and there's nothing he wouldn't go without for us, and I definitely appreciate that. And that's something I picked up from my dad as well. Is just to learn to put your family first. Family is what matters most. What are some of the things that lessons that you guys have learned as well?
Yeah, so like you said, there's a ton of lessons. One of the lessons I learned from the old guy is integrity. He always says doing right because it's right.
Yeah.
for no other reason. Doesn't matter what your reward is or what the outcome is. You do what's right because it's right. And that's a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and I can still hear him saying it in my head years and years and years later.
That's awesome. And one thing, we're actually, I was just having a conversation with someone earlier today in regards to, but I've sat through many of Rodney Senior lectures.
We've heard about those,
and I mean, goodness, like hours on end. And I'm just like, look, at this point, like, let's get the whooping over with. Like, you don't got to explain to me top to bottom 3 different ways from 3 different viewpoints on why you deserve this whooping. Just go on and get to it. But, those things were invaluable. My father always showed me, the purpose and reason behind things. So I never felt like, even when being disciplined or anything like that, it was not without reason or purpose, or he didn't allow me to see, or he allowed me to see, the reasons why he chose to do what he does every day, or what the reasons why I should choose certain things. And so, yeah, it's just invaluable. Like, that time is probably like some of the most valuable times of my life where I like, man, I really needed my father for this. It couldn't be provided by my mother. As loving as great my mother is, whenever she's upset with me, that you get a couple of, what's wrong with you? And, my dad was able to calm it down and bring it back and reel me in, and then, allow me to see purpose in everything, and to see reason. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. One thing I really want to see, as both of you have no children, I just want to see if, fatherhood impacts this next question is, because of you having an active father, do you ever see yourself not being an active father? The time when you have kids?
Nah, I don't really understand. Like, the child is here, but I'm not around.
Yeah.
I don't. I honestly, I can't comprehend.
Doesn't make math in your head. Yeah.
Like, I know people apparently have reasons why, but I literally don't understand just like not being around your children at all.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the most important things to my dad, because part of the reason why it was important to him is because his father wasn't there for him in the way he would like his father to be there. So my dad made sure to be there for us the best way that he possibly could, which means he was there every day. If I needed him at school, he was showing up. If he was driving us around, we was talking about how he would drive us around San Bernardino County for football, and he was doing that. It didn't matter what it was. He was always there. And that's the only way I know of a father to be. I can't imagine anything different.
Yeah, I would definitely say the same. My father, of course, he sacrificed a lot to make sure that we were stable. And so, in his line of work, he was, out a lot. He worked a lot of hours. But one thing I always remember that my father did was, no matter how long the day was, if we were up, if he was able to come home, he would come upstairs and spend time with us, like genuine quality time, and speak to us and talk with us, even though I know he's dead tired, because we would find out very shortly after, because he would fall asleep on the couch. And, but he made sure that was a priority. So I felt still like a priority to my father, even when I didn't see him most of the time throughout the day, or even throughout the week, because sometimes he'd work, from the time I'm up until the time I go to bed, and he's still working. And so, it's just major. So for me, absolutely. I mean, I don't see myself ever being an absent father, unless the Lord takes me home sooner than my time.
That's the only way
that's
to be
the
absent.
only way.
Yeah,
that's the only way to be absent. And then, but one thing I even teased my wife about was, she was like, oh, I want to work. I don't even care if we got extra money in the bank. I still want to be working. I'm just like, that's a great mentality to have. Absolutely. But there's a certain point, there's a certain goal that where I reach, and I'm like, look, I ain't working no more, because I want to be involved with my children as much as I possibly can. Now, if there's a job or something out there that accommodates that for me, that I can be there all the time, then that's the best of both worlds for me. But, I believe that's an investment that it's a very timely investment, investing into your children, and you can miss the opportunities to truly invest into them the way that you should. And so anything that gets me to be able to invest more into them, or in that, I want to make sure that that's what I'm doing. So if it's a different type of business to where I can be more in their lives, or if it's, I'm stable enough now to where income's coming in to where I don't have to worry about not, scheduling around. I could be at everything, and that's the goal. Like,
yeah, I love that. Excuse me. Today we're gonna give Black fathers their flowers today, definitely, because you mentioned like your dad spending time with you. One thing about my dad, and like all my friends can attest, like my dad was like the father to anyone who needed a father. And he would play with us. I remember playing basketball with my dad, playing hide and go seek, red light, green light, like everything that kids would do. Like my dad did it with us and with our friends. So there's a lot of bad talk about Black fathers, and I just want to say that it's not all of them, because I mean we've had just the most excellent example of fatherhood.
Sure.
Absolutely. And one thing, you probably can't appreciate this as much, but Rodney and we the ones that got all the whoopings in the family.
Yeah, y'all was the whooping ones. Yeah.
So you sit out for a couple seconds. We'll be back to you in a second. But I remember we was at Rodney's house one time. Probably like a decade ago now. Crazy. But you was playing something on YouTube.
Oh, I know what he was playing.
Oh my goodness.
That senseless cursing video.
Wow, yeah. Oh man.
I remember that.
Y'all sure were there that day. Yo. And I was just playing it boldly,
Yeah, you was bold for that.
And then my dad came out of there, and I mean, it was like, boy, if you don't cut that. Yeah,
when the voice got high pitched,
I was done.
Yeah. No, I was low-key scared myself.
He said, "Have you lost your mind? Have you lost your mind?"
I was low-key scared, like I did something. I was like, dang, am I going to be in trouble too?
Yeah, I was pretty embarrassed by that one, because, I mean, everybody was there.
Everybody was there. The house was
like,
full.
everybody.
But I bring that up to say, like, from what I've seen, your dad and my dad as well, even though they were, disciplinarians, like my dad, he didn't, like, beat us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't, it seems as if he wouldn't whoop us when he was really angry.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he was really mad, he would get out my face. That's what he would do.
Mm-hmm.
He when he was really mad, he wouldn't go get the belt. He's just get out my face. Like whoopings didn't come from a place of anger; it came from a place of correction.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that very much so by my father, because it helped to steer us, all of us, and everyone who was around us. Because like you said, he was a father of everybody. Helped to steer us all in a better direction than where we would have been without it. So I just want to throw that out real quick. Yeah, you can come back in the conversation.
Thank you, I appreciate
But no, that's huge. Like, and then kind of touching back on Black fathers. I mean, honestly, majority of the Black fathers I know, they all in their children's life. I mean, I don't really know. It's the minority is the latter. Like, I don't really know too many people now, personally, rather, that are fathers that are not in their children's life. So I don't know. Contrary to most popular beliefs in regards to Black men, like we're involved. And then one thing I will say about, I mean, we're involved on a different level. I feel like, because Black fathers have so much on them in regards to community and like what they have to deal with, especially on places where we come from. It's very imperative that they instill certain principles and discipline into their children, because of how we're marginalized, or the places that we grow up into, where you have to be careful when there's gang violence and things like that going on. Like that makes the role of the father, the disciplinary, even more important. The person setting the standards. And so my grandfather being a great example, my dad and Bishop will tell you, like, they were more afraid of him than anybody out there in the streets. So they grew up in Compton, and at the heyday when the Crips and Bloods was going crazy, like, when it was started, they were growing up at the time. And so it was really rough, but they wouldn't dare disrespect James Butler. And you better believe that that don't happen. So having that strong figure to help guide the family, like, that's, man, especially coming with where they came from, that's hugely important.
Yeah, and I want to actually, like, because we talk about discipline and everything, and I'm thankful for the discipline my dad gave me, but now that I have children, or a child and one on the way, discipline is a hard thing to do. It is, like my daughter, she was in trouble, and like she was in her room, and I was like, dang, now I can't play with her. Like it's hard to stick. It's hard to stick to being a disciplinarian. It really is, you know. And my dad had 5 boys, and he had a tall task on his hand. But you know, he did it. He made sure that we understood every decision has a consequence, and I think that's the biggest part of discipline. Like bigger than any other part is just understanding just consequences. And then if you choose it's worth the consequences, that's on you. But you at least need to know that every decision has a consequence. Welcome back, Miles. How you doing? It's good to have you back. Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Just handling, some personal business. I had to make sure I was okay.
All right.
Well, to catch you up, we're talking about discipline at the current moment.
I got a lot of that.
Yeah, I know we keep talking about it, but honestly, it is what shaped us to be who we are today.
For sure.
And
Absolutely.
if you look at some of your friends who grew up without discipline, and you can really see the path that they went down. And so I was going to talk about this. I was going to present it in a different way, kind of red pillish. You know, we always talk about, men supposed to have money, blah, blah, blah. And don't get me wrong, they are. You are supposed to provide. But even outside of money, like what are the things that your father has brought to the family?
One thing I want to say, because you brought up discipline, and like everybody knows Daddy for being the disciplinarian, right? And it's funny after when we were little kids, people were speaking one way about it, but now that we're adults, everybody's, man, Kelvin did a good job with them boys.
Let's dig into that. Let's really, really explain like that.
Yeah. So I mean, some of it's just friends, some of it's family, and a lot of people thought my dad was too hard on us.
Yeah.
Because there were some places we couldn't go, some things we couldn't watch, some stuff we couldn't say, stuff we couldn't listen to, actions we were not allowed to take. And if we took certain actions, there was, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the way I'll say it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people thought that, not that he was abusive at all, but it was like, man,
Yeah, they would always say your dad's too strict.
Yeah,
like everywhere we go, friend's house, cousin's house, it doesn't matter. They will always be like, your dad's too strict. Your dad's too strict. He'd be like, oh, I can't watch SpongeBob. Like, your dad's too strict, right? And that's what they always say. Mm-hmm. But as Miles was saying, and I'm sorry to cut you off, I just feel really passionate about this. Like now, we see it in our life. Those same people who told us your dad's too strict, they come back and they're like, your dad did a great job with you guys.
100%.
Your dad did a great job.
I'll be a corporate example. I mean, of course, whenever we're growing up, you probably heard it from me. And the crazy thing about it is, and I think I talked about it in one of our first podcasts, was having a little bit more of that structure. Now, of course, with my father working the way he did, it was kind of more difficult for him to be consistent on that with us. And I would even say, it affected the fact that, okay, I only got this much time with them. Like, I can't really be too hard on them now. I'm just trying to make sure I build a good rapport with my children. And so, now, of course, he definitely still made sure he was a disciplinarian. He still set the standard and everything. But I probably do, looking back, as far as, of course, it wouldn't have been as pleasant for me, garnering as many whoopings as I did anyway. But, maybe a little more of that structure would have done a lot more for me in the long run. And then, allowing me to learn lessons earlier on that when I got up to my teenage years and adulthood, could have saved me from a lot more pitfalls. So, I mean, I think, as he said, I think he did an excellent job with you all, for sure.
Yeah, it's always funny to hear some of those same people come back, hey, Kelvin did a good job with y'all. He did a real good job. They be like, especially since we're from Southern California, it's, even if you're not in a gang neighborhood, there's a gang not too far, right? And people are like, none of y'all's in gangs. None of y'all was ever in gangs. Nobody doing drugs. Nobody's alcoholic. Nobody got kids running all around. Like, they go down a list of things that they would expect a black man to be involved in, and they're like, not a single one of y'all. So, shout out to the old man for that.
Yeah, sure. But that shows the mental strength you have to lead a family, because you're going to hear it.
Yes.
Like, when you make a decision, this is what my family's doing. Like, as for me and my house type of decision, you have to have that mental fortitude to really stick to it, because you're going to get criticized along the way. But you got to know the plans that I'm just going scripture. The plans that you have, for your family. That's huge.
Oh, but I did want to say this though, because you talked about discipline. Y'all, we got in trouble for all kinds of stuff. Like it was all kinds. There's a reason why people thought Daddy was strict, right? Because he was a little strict.
He was strict.
But man, we got into we were talking about this before. I think it was after on the podcast, like how we had to have all our clothes washed, ironed, had to be paired up on hangers, shirt, pants, underwear, socks for the week. And if you didn't have that done before school on Monday, it was a problem. Right? Like it was stuff like that. It was like you didn't have a choice. It's stuff like when we went to college, seeing kids not know how to use a washing machine. I'm like, yo, I've been washing clothes since I was like 6 years old. How you don't know how to use a washing machine? Like, yeah, my mom always does it. No, it wasn't the case for us. My mom, listen, my parents stopped doing stuff like that for us a long time ago because it was like, you're going to do this, and if you don't do it right, if you don't have the kitchen clean like you were supposed to, I'm going to wake you up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to put this broom in your hand because you were supposed to sweep the floor at 1 in the morning, and now you tired because you know you got to go to school, but that's the discipline for not doing what you were supposed to do when you were supposed to do it. There was no, oh, this is my son. I'm going to come back behind him. I'm going to get it done. Or I'm going to let his mama do it for him. No. He's just going to have to lose some sleep and come in here and get these dishes done or whatever the case may be.
Man, I mean, that's awesome to hear because when I'm listening to everything you're saying, it's just like when somebody has to be a leader of men, you have to provide them with structure and with, baseline thinking and give them their independence as well because I'm sure he knew, there's going to come a time to where, you're going to be your own man and I can't really, tell you all what to do.
But he could try.
Exactly. But I want to prepare you so whenever you do make decisions, they're sound decisions and you're capable in everything that you do. So, you don't have to go and wonder like, how do I do this or how do I do that? Like you're capable and you're able to, go out and perform. And so that's huge to have that baseline. I think, thinking about as a father, how much, and I kind of want to open this up to a question as well, but how much as a father, how much you can mess your kid up is almost a little scary for me. Like even thinking about having children, of course I don't have any kids yet. I've been married for our anniversary just past, I think 8 years now. And
let's pick that up, man. Congratulations. Yeah.
So, no children yet, but we always think about like, man, we really don't want to mess our kids up because we know how our parents messed us up in some areas, and of course, our parents, the good that they done for us completely outweighs the bad things that we got from them. But I mean, we're like, man, like we just really want to be the best examples that we possibly can be to them, and we kind of had to go into an acceptance of like we're gonna mess them up in some ways, just because there's certain things that are unavoidable, but we're trying to deaden that blow as much as possible. So
well, yeah, we talked about that on the episode that never dropped. Y'all remember? Yeah, I don't know what happened in that episode.
Was that the first official episode?
That was the second episode. Right. It never dropped. Mm-hmm. However, I think the big takeaway from that was, I wasn't putting nobody on blast. I'm just saying it happened.
We have archives.
Yeah. But I think the biggest takeaway was like you're gonna mess them up. I think it's more so teaching children how to deal with life, how to critically think, right? Because at some point they're gonna have to see what happened to me, why it affected me this way, and then what am I going to do about it? So if you teach your children how to take accountability, and that comes from them seeing you take accountability, I think they're going to be okay. I heard a saying today that says sometimes you got to wipe your own butt. And I think that's just like, that teaches accountability, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What movie was that? That movie with
what age
Keke
does that
Palmer?
Begin for the
Longest Yard.
Longest Yard.
I don't know. It began pretty young.
Accountability.
That much.
Oh yeah.
You gotta wipe your.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Nah, that's awesome.
So with your dads, I know we talk about dads and we said we're gonna give dads flowers. One cool thing that you remember from your dad. One thing I was like, yo, this was kind of dope that dad did this.
Oh man, that's a ton of things. But so my dad, of course, I love music. My whole family, well, I'll say majority of my family, we are into music to some degree. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, your dad used to sing in the choir and stuff like that and everything. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But make sure this is still going. I think it just might. Okay, cool. We're good. And scene. Okay. Yeah, so, but my dad actually used to be a DJ, like, back in the day.
I did not know this either.
And so my dad, when I tell you, like, he was a music head, like, my uncle could tell you, Pastor Butler can tell you, that my dad would be in his room when a new album drops. He'd buy it, and he would play it over and over and over again, and just be in his room. And that's all you hear is just music for hours, right?
I'm loving this story.
And he used to DJ parties. My uncle used to dance, and with his best
story
friend
gets
Fletcher.
better and better every second.
And so my dad would be DJing, they'd be dancing at parties and everything. Like, and then, you know, so my dad said it was almost obsessive how, like, much he was into. He could tell you, like, who played what instrument in the bands, like, you know, what year this came out, everything. Very much so. And so when he got saved, that was something that he gave up. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I get that. I understand, you know. But then he sold all of his record. Like, he gave his whole record collection away. And I'm like, Dad, that's one of the days where, like, I should have, you know, like, Lord, just send me up there a little early so I can just, like, hey, Dad, hold on to all these. And just smack him, you know, hold on to it. And I was like, I'll get the whooping for this later. You know, just get. But now I understand the reason why. But, yeah, that was really cool to think about. And then now, you know, myself, my sister, like, how much, you know, we're influenced by music and stuff like that. I think a lot of it we thought we fully got from my mother, who's very much into music and musically inclined as well. But my dad, I would say, like, really probably really does come from him. So that's a cool thing. Another thing, and as far as a memory it goes, is my dad. So my dad is very, like, he's very goofy, okay? And and kind of going more so into music too as well. Again, when we would drive home from places, like, if he had a specific album that he liked, he would play that same album for months. Like,
No
I
wonder
mean,
your
I
dad
think
and my
I
dad
can
was
sing
friends.
every song and ad-lib of the Dorinda Clark album because when he was on Dorinda, like, that's all we played. Then for a while, before that, it was Winans Phase 2. Like, he would play
That's
that
the album right there,
for,
boy.
like, every single day. Okay? So I could sing that from beginning to end, right? Every word from word. And he would be in the car, and, like, his favorite thing was to beat on the steering wheel, like, as he's singing all the songs. And I mean, it was just memories. Like, I see him do that, and then just really being involved with us and stuff like that. So I think that's some of the coolest things. But that's way more.
That was great. I got a million memories. I'm gonna go to a football one, but before I get there, so your dad replayed music. My dad replayed movies.
Oh my gosh.
And when I say over it, when he saw that movie Drumline,
Oh my gosh.
we watched Drumline every day.
One bang.
One
Sam.
One Sam. Devin. Miles. I could quote that whole movie.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
So I understand what you went through. It wasn't music, but it was
No,
movies.
wait. He did it with music too, cause that Mary album.
Yeah, definitely.
Just can't
Yeah, definitely was
give
music too,
up.
but just not
Every
on
day
the
in the car.
degree. Not on the degree. But one of the coolest things my dad did for me, and it took me a long time to really realize. See, this, like, fathers do stuff and they don't get credit for it because kids don't understand the sacrifice. So when I started playing football in the 4th grade, I think, something like that. I think I started playing football in the 4th grade. No, was it 4th grade?
It had to be something like that, cause
3rd grade. I think 3rd,
I was-
something like that.
I was in second.
Yeah, anyways, really young. And then eventually, so I played in a city called San Bernardino. And then eventually we would move to a city called Redlands, which is probably about 30 miles away, something like that. And what my dad did was he let us keep playing for San Bernardino. Redlands had their own team. Normally when somebody moves, you go and play for the city you play for. So my dad would drive us 30 miles, you know, to practice 3 days a week, you know, and, like, I just think about me. I say all the time, like, if that was my kids, it would not have happened. It would not. But those are some of my strongest bonds. You know, I still consider those guys my brothers, even though we don't talk all the time. I still consider those guys my brothers from, like, you know, 4th grade. And he did that all from elementary all the way to high school when I started playing high school ball in Redlands, and that's one of the best things he could have did. Like, those friendships were so important for me. And had he just been like, no, you can play here in the city you live in, that would have been acceptable. Like, I totally understand that. But for him to make that sacrifice, and you talk about gas money, you know, like, it was unnecessary because we could have walked to practice if we went in Redlands, you know. And just through it all, he just was there, getting us there on time, getting us to practice and games, you know, and you got to drive super far. Your home games are all the way in San Bernardino, opposed to your home games could have been in Redlands, where you could have walked to your home games, you know. So that's just one of the many things that I remember and I'm grateful for.
You made me think of the time when we played against Redlands and everybody stayed at the house.
Yeah.
And instead of driving to the stadium, the
Uh-huh.
whole team walked to the. That was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Especially since y'all went out there and kicked their butts too. So it was.
You know, we was nice.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. It was some good players on that team. That's neither here nor there though.
Two-time Junior All-American champions. Sorry, just got to throw that out there.
Fact. But one thing Roddy made me think of with our dad is, so I remember when we lived on 19th Street and we got a drum set, and that's when I started playing drums. First or second grade is when I first started playing drums. Right, good times. And so every once in a while, Daddy would like beat around on the drums. Now I always thought drums were super easy. I'm like, anybody can play drums. You just, you know, stomp and clap. Like, it's pretty much playing drums. So I didn't think much about it until he bought a piano and a bass guitar. And one day, because me and Linda were taking piano lessons, and he just started playing piano. I was like, what in the heck?
It was like playing Lean on Me too.
Yeah.
Like just playing the song. Like I was like,
when the heck did you learn
when
this?
did you learn this?
So some time goes by. He gets a big, black, shiny bass guitar that we could almost never really touch, right? Now, by this time, I'm like 12 years old. My dad has never touched a guitar in my life. He just picks the guitar up and starts playing like he's been playing for years. I am stuck. Like, when in the world did you learn to play bass guitar, and how have you not played? I know you ain't played it for years because I've been around, and you ain't been playing it around me. You ain't been playing for years, and you just pick it up as if this is what you do. So I think that was a really cool memory of Daddy just like, yeah, you know all this musical stuff that y'all enjoy? Like I said in the last episode, I thought it was going to be the next Usher, right? Because I was like doing a lot of singing and dancing, and he was like, yeah, that's all me. Like, all that comes from me. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're all fortunate to have fathers in our lives, and we're going to repeat that cycle and give our kids great memories, of course, because we can sit here and go all day talk about memories from our dad. But I want to talk about a scripture. There's a scripture that says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. How has your father's life influence, how has that led you to working to fulfill that scripture? So in other words, what has your father done to give you ideas or thoughts on money?
A lot of things. One thing that I wanted to say earlier is that, you know, people talk about, you know, your father earning money, but one of the amazing things that Dad did that people don't understand is that the person you are will have an impact on the money that you can generate, right? And so because of...
That's a good statement.
Oh, you know.
I like that. Write that down.
Because of how he raised us and how he forced us to think and behave and act, it put us in situations where now we can generate income in ways that we probably would not have been able to do before, right? Because, you know, they say you'll become the average of your 4 closest friends, right? So if you got 4 friends that got money, you'll become the 5th. If you got 4 close friends that are broke, you'll become the 5th, right? Your network is your net's worth. And so he taught us things like who you are, who you're around, what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. That is going to impact the income that you have. And since getting in business, I've learned from other people who are pretty much saying the same thing that, you know, he was telling us. It's like, your business won't grow until you do. But these are the same things that he was instilling in us a long time ago, to make good decisions, to make smart decisions, to make the decisions that are right because they're right, to be careful with who you hang out around. No, you can't hang out around them. It's not happening. I didn't understand what that meant But now that I'm in business, like a friend of mine messed up a business relationship with a multimillionaire, not because they did something wrong, but because the person they were with did something wrong. But this is what happens to people all the time, and it happens in a million different ways. So one way that he has helped us financially, because I can go into other ways, it's just making sure we're the kind of people that are able to generate income, and we have the kind of character that other people are okay with giving us opportunity and position.
And I just want to highlight, he taught you all this about money without him being rich, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's huge. Yeah, I would definitely say something that correlates to me that my father's taught that helps me when it comes to finances is honestly kind of what you mentioned too, was character. Like my dad had for years worked in a lot of management positions to where he was managing, 20 plus people, even more, 40, 50 plus people. And he always exercised patience and understanding when he worked with everybody. And that's why everybody spoke well of him. I remember going to, whenever he was working at Saddleback Memorial back in California, huge hospital out there. And I walked through the halls and they were like, "Oh, that's that Rodney's son." Everybody just spoke so well of him. Like people would cook him food, and he'd be bringing home different desserts and food and all kinds of stuff. And coworkers would just, I'm not, if you're going somewhere, I'm not staying. It was just he was such patient. He had worked with such patience and kindness towards every single person. My dad, I believe when he first started working in the maintenance business, or what he did, he didn't know a lick of Spanish, but because most of his clientele, or not necessarily clientele, but most of his workers were Hispanic, he picked up the language. So awesome. My dad speaks it fairly well and understands it probably a little bit better than he speaks it, obviously, but he made sure to make that a point so that he communicate properly with people, and that was invaluable. I remember he told me a story one day. He had a worker who, was giving him a little bit of issues, and my dad, if you know him, he's not one to get out of character unless, his son gets him out of character, by being crazy. But no, he's pretty even keel guy most of the time. And there was a lady who was, screaming her head off, going off on him and everything. And my dad was saying, I was just looking at her, and he was, just as we're sitting down, relaxed, just looking, okay, shaking his head. And the lady is just letting him have it, tongue lashing, turning red, everything, screaming. This is all in front of a bunch of people. And he was like, even more so the fact that there was a lot of people watching even made me realize, okay, I need to make sure I respond calmly, because what people are looking for is to get you out of character, to get you into argument, to get you in a compromising position, especially as a leader. And he said, okay, I waited for her to finish. And then I said, okay, are you finished? Is everything okay? And he was like, it almost made her more mad. So she gives him some more, And then eventually, she ended up reducing and getting going, coming to his level, and then apologizing, and I'm so sorry. And then he was like, yeah, that became one of my best workers after then. And I didn't really even say much to her. I just let her get everything out and let her know, look, I'm going to stay here just as solid as a rock, and say, and I'm still going to hold you accountable to what it is that you need to do. And, either you're going to do the job with me here, or we'll figure something else out for you. And he's, as calm as could be. I'm like, man, that's a lot. Me as a rambunctious 13, 15-year-old, I'm like, how do you do that? Like, if somebody scream at me like that, yeah, we're about to throw hands or something like that, or I'm screaming, or you're fired, you're out of here, And he was like, most management, people that I know will probably have fired that employee, but he ends up becoming one of his best employees because of him exercising that patience. And that was one of the lessons that stuck with me to this day. So no matter where I'm at, I make sure people don't ever get me out of character, whether it's a client, whether it's a coworker, whether it's somebody that is working for me, because that stability is going to, and then of course it shows for an example to, peers as well as people that are under your tutelage. Like, okay, this is how we need to operate. So that's huge. That was huge for me.
That's awesome. I guess it's my turn to go. Well, one thing I really wanted to tell people, I almost forgot how I was going to say it. Anyways, it's like you don't have to have something in order to teach it. Early on, my dad had a back injury, and that gravely impacted our finances as a family. So growing up, we didn't have much, but my dad taught us to be financially stable. He taught us, to be wise with your money, and he always taught us, find a way to make money, right? And so that's just something I want people to know. Is like you don't have to be rich to instill rich values into your children. And one example of it is when I was like 6th grade, I borrowed some money from my mom, and I bought a box of sour belts and some Ziplocs from Costco. And it's funny, I bought it from Smart and Finals the first time. It's funny because my friend sent me a picture of them, and we just had a whole conversation about it. But like this is like what I learned from my dad. So I'm like 6th grade, and I'm learning this, and I'm like, wow, I can sell these things. It's $200 in a box, and I'm like, I can sell 10 strips for $1. That's 10 cents a strip. Like nobody would feel bad about that, right? And so I started going to school and selling these sour belts, and I was making almost $20 a day. Like I would sell the whole box. I got to the point where I had to buy boxes at a time. Like, and I started going to Costco, and Costco had like you like buy 4 boxes, right? And I was just moving these things, and it was just what he taught me about, find a way to make your own money. Like never depend on someone else. Yeah. And from a young age, I took it in. Now this next part, I got it from myself, so don't blame him for it, right? But then I learned, like, I was like, all right, if I cut up these sour belts, right, nobody's going to count. So I can take 8 sour belts, cut them up into little pieces and put them in a bag and sell that for $1, right? And so then I'm maximizing profits at this point, right? And then, but yeah, I'm not going to say that was, I was very shrewd with that one. But it just goes to show, like, you don't have to possess something to teach it to your kids, right? You can always still instill in them, like, what better that you want to see them have. And so that's something I'm, hoping I do well with my kids, but it's definitely something I want to just encourage other people with children. Like, you don't have to have it in order to teach it. You can instill that in them, and they'll be grateful that you did. And we went on to sell all kind of stuff, and I had other people selling for me, and then I got caught one day, so I was like, I'm not selling no more. Like, come to my house before school, pick up your bags. After school, give me the money. Like, it was a whole operation.
All right, Ghost.
It was a whole operation, and I've been making money ever since I was in the 6th grade.
Good times.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good time. I started selling candy because he was doing it.
Yeah, it was easy money.
It was the easiest of money.
You know what, to think about it, so my dad actually was always like technologically like sound and savvy. Like he had a computer repair business for a while years ago, and so he had got us all into stuff like that, and even to this day. And I remember when we first moved here to Texas, like when the iPhone had just dropped, and then jailbreaking and stuff like that was wild. So I got into that, and then I think I still have a picture like on MySpace or on my archives or whatever. Like I got like 10 or 12 like iPhones and iPods just laying on my couch, and I was downloading music for people, and they were paying me to like burn CDs and jailbreak their phones and stuff like that. So I mean, honestly, like if it wasn't for my dad, like I probably would have never made money doing that.
Your dad's their flowers, man. So important.
Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, LimeWire. Yeah, a lot of viruses and stuff like that.
I know you got viruses.
Yeah, but when you become seasoned in something, after a while, you know what to look for. So
it just made you stronger. That's
absolutely.
All. Yeah, made you stronger.
And then one thing about our dad, so like Leonard said, at one point he was like working became like something that wasn't a possibility for him to have a regular 9-to-5 job. It's just not gonna happen. But he became an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like, he really became an entrepreneur and figured out stuff. Just figured it out. He didn't go to a 4-year university. Like, he didn't have some super duper multi-millionaire say, hey, you're going to come and be my pupil for the next 5 years, and when I'm done, this is... No, he just figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
He figured it out, and that's one thing he gave to us, which is awesome. Like, he taught us a lot of things. Like, he don't like paying for stuff. He hate paying for something. Like, even in business, if we got to pay for something, he'll be like, all right, we're going to pay for it, but we need to figure out how to do it on our own. Like, that's not our business. That's a totally separate business. He's like, nah. We got to figure out how to do it ourselves. Like that's how he is. But that kind of thinking, ultimately, it will bring you to a place where like you can insulate yourself, and like moving forward as a entrepreneur, as a businessman, businesswoman, whoever's watching this, you want your company to grow to the point where it insulates itself, where you buy everything from you, you create everything yourself. You are who you're paying, so that other people can pay you.
100.
Like that's a bar, by the way. I gotta write that down.
See, you give him one compliment. One compliment, now he think he's Shakespeare. Okay? Not quite.
Man.
How we doing on time?
I got no idea.
I got no idea.
Let's see.
Let's
I
see.
got no clue.
That's definitely in seconds, so I wouldn't even know.
Oh,
53,
50,
okay.
We're
That's
doing,
not too
we're
bad.
doing fantastic.
Yeah.
We're
Doing
doing
good.
fantastic.
So, one thing I want to say about being a father that I learned from my dad is like, sheesh. Leonard mentioned earlier the mental fortitude.
Oh goodness.
Like learning some of the things that my dad went through in being a husband and being a father. Like my mom had a child when they met.
Don't talk about stepdads. That's what I was gonna go with next.
Don't. Okay, I'm not gonna.
Nah, he's gonna
it.
talk about it. Go ahead.
I'm not. All I'm gonna say is like my dad had to deal with a lot of stuff in multiple different ways from other people, and starting to understand that like you miss so much as a child. You don't know all the things your parents are doing until you become an adult, and then you're like, oh my goodness, you went through all that for us. Thank you. So,
Yeah.
but go ahead, say what you want to say.
Okay, yeah, because I really wanted to pose this question. I mentioned it before the podcast. Two of us are married, so two of us don't have a choice in this, but one of us aren't. But I still want to know, for the one that is married, and then for the one that's not, could you ever see yourself being a stepdad? And then for the one that is married, was that ever a possibility prior to you getting married? I just need to know.
So could I ever? I've been saying this for years. I'll never say never, because my father was a stepfather. Like that's not something not a phrase we use in this family. Like that's his dad, and our other brother is just our brother. Like that's all there is to it. But for the sake of other people understanding, my dad is a stepfather. So I'll never say never. But listen here, it's gonna be a work of the Lord to make it happen. It's gonna be a work of the Lord to make it happen. And I've had a few people that at some point in time I was interested in, and they, years later they have a son or a daughter, and now they're interested in me, and I'm like, that's great. This is not gonna work.
Yeah,
I'm not dealing with it. I don't want to deal with no crazy baby daddies. Y'all, folks having crazy baby daddies. Man. These stories I be hearing. Anyways, I'm not dealing with that. I don't want to deal with even someone who is not crazy. They're in their child's life, but now there's contention because I'm doing my best to be a father, but he is a father, and that is his son or daughter. Like, there's nothing I can do to change the fact that that's his son or daughter. So whatever he says, like, I don't want to deal with none of that at all. And I also never want to deal with a child coming to me and saying, you're not my daddy.
Especially if you feed them.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how.
Man.
I don't know. It's like there's more, but I'll just say, like, if it happens, God is good.
Yeah.
But if it's Miles' decision,
Okay.
that ain't
So
gonna happen.
you're leaning no, but not closing the door.
Not closing the door.
Okay.
Man, so I mean, let's just if hypothetically, my wife had a child, I probably would have never talked to her. I'm gonna be honest, because the stage in which we began talking, I was still quite young. I mean, I was just out of high school and stuff. So, and that's not what I was looking for at all. I mean, as much as I love kids, and anybody can tell you, I love kids, right? I'll run around with them. It doesn't matter, but they go home, or like I go home, so I don't have to deal with them. Exactly. Yeah. We're not going to be with each other this whole day. But yeah, I'm going to be honest. I probably would have never talked to my wife if she had a child already. And she could have, still been the same beautiful person. But yeah, that's tough for me. But I will say if it was godly purposed, and I had to step in and be that, then absolutely, I wouldn't mind taking that on, and I would treat the child as like they're my own, because I think it's still valuable I see how valuable it is, even in a community standpoint of, having male representation in a child's life or an upbringing. And if I was going to be the main source for that, then I need to make sure that I'm doing it wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, in my older age, of course, yeah, sure. But I don't know. Back then, it probably wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I think Junior's a no.
Yeah. It's a hard no. Like
a hard no.
Yeah, it's a hard no. There's something about like family and the adjustment period of doing that. And I feel like for me and my wife's journey, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I'm glad we're at where we're at now without children, because I feel like it was valuable time that we needed to make sure that we solidified how the trajectory of our marriage is going to go. And I feel like if you threw a child in there, I mean, I don't know, maybe we don't make it. Yeah. And, and that's just being transparent. Like, I mean, I don't see how that would have been a huge, ball and everything. And I'm like, nah, we didn't need that. Like, that wasn't for us. And so it was funny, ironically, looking back, and people were saying like, hey, y'all should have a kid. And, friends of ours getting married, having a kid shortly after, which is great. Love that for them. But it wasn't for us, because we needed that time. I truly believe we needed that time. And then, the way our family structure is set up, we needed that time for it just to be us too. So I think it's coming on the horizon. But ultimately, to go back to stepfathers, though, I do think it's still valuable, completely valuable. And of course, if the Lord put me, because it would have to be a Lord thing, 110%. And that kid has to be like, I mean, that it would probably have to be the greatest kid ever. Like, because if I found anything wrong with him, I'm like, yeah, your mom's cooked. She's done. Like, we're finished, okay? I mean, she's great, but like, you're not, kid. So we're done. I mean, I'm just being real. Like, so yeah, no, that's a lot. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to know, Leonard, and to my sister-in-law, there's nothing but love to you. So don't take this the wrong way, I promise. But
take it the wrong way.
Don't do that.
When this podcast goes off, Miles is gonna get.
But Leonard, you are indeed a stepfather.
Yes, I am.
And I know for a fact. When I found out she had a child, I was like, "Hey, brother, are you sure about this? Like, you're doing a lot, but I guess you wanted to follow in your daddy's footsteps. I guess that's what it was. Yeah. And you did that to the best of your ability. What was it that made you say, I guess I just have to be a daddy, instant dad?
I like that question.
Okay, boys, let's talk stepfather, right? It's a lot. Okay, it's a lot being a stepdad. Oh, the truth coming out. Okay, just give me a second.
How am I gonna phrase this to make sure my drive home is well and peaceful?
I saw something that said when it comes to like speaking with your wife, say the third thing that comes to mind.
There you go. So, that's true.
No, okay. So I never like went on a mission to be a stepdad. Okay, but I don't think I had as hard of a no as like Miles and definitely you show. Like I don't think I had as hard of a no. I definitely didn't want to be a stepdad to a boy because I always just imagine like somebody was like, that's my boy, you know what I'm saying? And like, raise another man's son and try, because the boys take up so much from their father figure, and then I just don't want to deal with, you trying to raise him to be like you, and like, I just, so like a boy, it wasn't, I tell all the time, if you had a boy, I probably would not have done it just for that. But there's no doubt in my mind that like seeing my dad be a stepfather definitely made it something that was, awesome. in the back of my mind. Because when I met Gina, like Gina was great. Gina was perfect, and she was like, "I got a kid," and I'm like, "Okay." Like my dad had it. He married a woman with a kid, so there's no doubt in my mind like that has something to do with it. But honestly, like what sealed it and let me know it was okay. All right, so I'm not good with kids. Like I'm not that type of person. Like some people like, oh, I'm great with babies and stuff. Like I'm not. So I still remember the first time I met our daughter. Like Gina came to Texas. It was like on our trip to Texas. She was like, I brought Taylor, and I'm like, boys, it's real, right? Because like we weren't even dating at that time. Nah, yeah, we weren't even dating yet. So it was like, okay, boys, like here we go. And it's just like the love that little girl showed me. Like when we went to the house the first day, like she ran right past Gina, ran right to me, gave me a hug, right? And like how old was she? Like 2 maybe? Like she was little. And so it was like my interaction with her let me know like, okay, I could do this. Cause you know, like you said, you know, if it had something wrong with the kid, like that wasn't the situation. Like she was just a great kid, and she was very accepting of me, and she helped me be a dad. And it's funny, like early on, we would go to the grocery store, and remember she would say stuff like, "Daddy's learning how to be a dad" or stuff like that, and she was teaching me how to push the cart in the store. You know, so that was just my experience. I had a very fortunate experience, and she was really young. Cause if somebody was like 6, 7, 13, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Rough.
Yep. I'm gonna have to get that
Like
text
I said,
from Jesus.
They would have to be like, you know, they would have to be the greatest 13-year-old kid.
The greatest. No, they would have to have an income.
Yeah, they'd have to have a full-time job. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They have to be making 6 figures. And I'm like, you know what? I think, you know, actually, this can work out.
Yeah. But she took to me right away. When we got married, she started calling me dad right away, which I'm grateful. Like, I was never going to force that, but, I definitely wanted to be her dad. You know, like, you're a little kid, you're going to be in the house. Like, let's have a family dynamic. So she called me dad, from the jump. And that's my daughter, so it worked out for me. So I hear what y'all saying, but maybe I just had a great situation.
Absolutely. And I was gonna say that's just a testament to the person you married. Like if you have, I believe family is hugely important in regards to factoring in like, am I gonna be with this person? Like, for instance, I know my wife's family years before I even knew she was my wife, or even before I really interacted with her too much. And that acceptance and love that I received from them initially was already setting the groundwork for, our relationship to this day. And so having, somebody that Gina's just molded, and you can see, the love and the, everything in her already, that's just a testament to like, okay, this is a good situation. Yeah. So that's what I said. It had to be an amazing kid. Yeah. And, you raise an amazing girl. So.
It's gotta be an amazing kid.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, no, I've said it all. That's it. That's the stepfather story.
I said all that to say it's still a no for me. It's absolutely still a no for me. Don't get it twisted, guys.
You know what's funny is like Gina told me, she was like, I wouldn't date nobody with a kid, and I'm like, the nerve.
That's kind of
the audacity.
It's kind of wild.
How dare you? Right.
I wouldn't date nobody like me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So I'm telling you, dating somebody with a kid, it's different, but it was rewarding, and also like because I'm older, I'm 33 now, so going into the marriage and she having a kid, like I feel like I had that kid younger than what I'm gonna be 33 when I finally have my boy. And I feel kind of old because like my dad used to be out there with us all the time, like playing basketball with us, kicking our butt, and I'm gonna kick my son's butt in everything. I'm not gonna let him win nothing.
That's
like,
teaching him.
But I'm gonna get old faster also because I'm 33 already. So.
But you don't have a back injury.
Yeah, that's right.
So you should be able to hang around a lot longer.
Did your dad like let you win and stuff, or was he?
No. So
you said that very matter of factly.
My dad. So there's this wonderful game called Track and Field, and it was on the NES.
Oh, I know all about that.
To this day,
I know all about that.
Classic.
He just bodies us in Track and Field. Like I don't care like how old we get. Like this man must have played this religiously. But like as soon as he found dominance in that, he was like, "Oh, let's play it every day, right?" Like he always wanted to play that. Like he didn't want to play any other games. Then another thing is Wii bowling. This guy is a legend.
Oh,
like,
is he a 300 bowler?
Yes, he's a 300 bowler. And I'm like, how did this happen? And crazy enough, whenever we first got it, like I never really saw him playing. So I was like, what's going on? But come to find out, I'll come home from school and I hear somebody in there, whoosh, Like, and he's making noises. He's stepping back, like
Yeah,
doing the whole form and everything. And I'm like, Dad, oh, so you've been training up? Like, all these, yeah. Well, look, I'll be on here. And we get on, and I mean, he will body us in Wii Bowl. And to this day, we can't really touch him in that.
I think we should have a Wii bowling competition.
Man, that man is different when I tell you.
My dad thinks he's the best at Uno, but them days have passed. Okay.
I mean, can you really be the? Well, I guess there's some type of strategy.
I am the best at Uno.
Listen,
Yes.
What I need y'all to understand is that what Leonard low-key just did in this family is to start a civil war.
Well, it is what it is.
See, because Uno is serious business in this family.
It is.
My dad would tell you he been banned from Vegas and playing Uno. The reason they don't have Uno in the casinos is because he win too much. So there will definitely be conversation when these cameras go off because he just decided to start a war.
All right.
But y'all have any last words about fatherhood?
I just take a moment, tell your dad you love him. You know,
for sure.
When you really think about all the things that your dad did for you, just show him his flowers, give him his flowers while he's still here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Make sure you spend some quality time with them as well. I mean, no man's an island. I tend to think men a lot of times, especially when they get older, they isolate a lot, depending on their situation, of course. My father and my mother are separated, so he doesn't really have that. And so what I've had to make sure to remember is like, hey, I need to make sure we're spending more quality time, and just that's valuable for them, especially in later years of their lives. So if you can get some one-on-one time with your fathers, do that. It's super important for them. And even though they may kind of brush it off like, oh, okay, we're just hanging out, whatever. Like, it means a lot to them. Like, it really does. Yeah,
absolutely. And two men that have made it abundantly clear that all they care about is their family. It's my dad and my grandfather on my mother's side. They have both made it abundantly clear nothing else matters other than having their children around or their grandchildren around. So, to the men in my life, thank you. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
And everybody who sees this moving forward, be sure to tell the men in your life thank you. Let them know you appreciate the sacrifice, the good times, the frustrating times, all of it. So many whoopings.
So many
important.
And we're important. Apparently, I needed them.
Yeah, you did.
At least some of them.
I can tell. Game recognized game. I understand. I know people who need good whoopings. Let me look in the audience right now. Who needed whoopings, girl? Net, you might have needed whoopings. Nah, that was okay. I can tell she's okay. But yeah, he definitely needed.
You see, he got his head down. You see, he got his head down.
Yeah, exactly. He trying to duck off. I understand. Chassis, you didn't need that many whoopings. You was all right. You too. You like my little brother, so y'all the same age.
No, see what happened was we didn't talk about this.
It's about to get low.
See what happened is fathers get old and they don't have the energy to whoop. That's why he didn't get no whoopings growing up. That's what it was.
But then again, I think
it all on you.
Nah, but listen. In my household, they saw what was happening to me, and that put the fear.
And they was like, "Let me change my ways."
That's literally it. It was like, yeah, we're not gonna go on the same path this guy's going down. And I literally was just a distraction. They'd get away with things behind the scenes, but I was just in the forefront so much that they didn't get
trying
to
be
see
bold.
Yeah, of course.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, boldness. And you know what? One thing. This is on the fact of discipline. So I remember I was a weird kid. Okay, I remember I ran away twice. Right. So
why would you run away?
Listen, actually, it happened about 4 times. Okay, the last time was the worst time. Right. Or I attempted to run away. Okay, the last one was actually somewhat successful.
Can we get an age?
Okay, the first time I was like, God, what was it? I was probably like in the 4th grade, 4th or 5th grade.
Yep. Been there. Okay.
Right. So I remember. I had got all my stuff ready. I was ready to go. Was living in Anaheim at the time. I was like, I'm about to peel off. I'm done with this family. I'm out of here. Right? Right? And so the craziest thing happened. So my dad literally was coming home. Like, I knew my dad, he worked long hours, so he wouldn't come home till late. But he was walking through the gate to our townhome at the time while I was leaving. And he saw me with a bag on. and everything. And when I tell you, he literally snatched me because I tried to run past him. He literally snatched me up, carried me back into the house. Like, boy, what is you doing? And of course, that resulted in another whooping. What you think you about to run away from this house? Now, of course, it was a lecture, then a whooping.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was my first experience, and it's funny because that was like literally divine timing. Like,
Why do
he
you have
never
so many
came home that
experiences,
early.
Yeah,
though?
he tried it again. That's the funny part.
I did try it again.
You got good parents.
Listen, man. It you know what? As a kid, I won't get into too much, but as a kid, I was very I thought of myself as the problem child, so I was like, oh, since I'm the problem, let me get out of here.
Let me just remove the
Let me just
problem.
remove myself. It was like a fake guilt thing, but I just wanted attention. I mean, yeah, it was it was crazy. But
How old were you on the last attempt?
the last attempt, okay, man. So a whole search party actually broke out on the last attempt.
Oh, gotta hear this story. Gotta hear this
Man,
one.
so I
We
was
got
living in
time. Let's do it.
Orange. Matter of fact, it was probably like middle. No, it wasn't middle school. Nah, because the first time actually had to have been younger because it was probably like 5th or 6th grade. That was the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bernadette, rest in peace. She was a beautiful missionary at our church. She had gave me her grandson's scooter. It was the first time I had like a scooter. I was like, oh great. Now when I get away, I got a vehicle. You
really can run away now.
here, right? I could cover some ground. And I had a tough time at school. Things were going on, getting in trouble. Doing what I did. And now I wasn't like I was just a hard-headed kid, okay? So I just got into stuff that I didn't need to get into. And, just coming home too late, all kinds of stuff, right? So, I'm getting in trouble. I write this big note. I leave it in the I left it in the laundry room, right?
Wrote a note.
Left it in the laundry room, peeled off. It was like 8:30 p.m., right? No. It was earlier in the day. I ride my scooter to my friend's house, act like nothing going on. I go over there, play with him all day.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm out of here. I ain't going. Taking my scooter.
You was planning this for the whole day.
Oh yeah, man. I had destinations. I had a little girlfriend at the time. I went to her house.
Wait.
Talk
How
there.
old were you?
I see why you was getting
I had
whoopings.
girlfriends since I was in
Kindergarten.
Literally. My first girlfriend, her name was
stuff
Tiffany
right there.
Orto. Shout out to you, Tiffany. That was my first girlfriend ever, and I feel like I had a girlfriend back to back to back ever since then. So, I didn't tell anybody that I was running away. None of my friends knew. I was just like, they just thought I was hanging out. So, leave his house, and then it starts to get late, and I'm pushing the scooter down the street or whatever, and I'm all the way. I lived in Anaheim. I'm in Tustin right now. So, like, this is a pretty good distance that I covered.
Some ground.
Right? I'm like, oh, this area's starting to look familiar. I think I can guide my way to my auntie's house, right? My godmother. But I was like, no, I can't go to her house because
She gonna send you
she's
back.
going to send me back to my mom. And so I was like, okay. So I'm just riding around, and it had to have been God because the scooter breaks. Like, it just broke. I was like, man, what the heck? And then I'm mad in the back of my head, like, Bernadette, this is why you gave me
Gave me
this
this broken scooter.
daggone broken scooter. Like,
Church folks.
what's going on? I was like, I know Bernadette would do that to me, but apparently she did. So I'm like, dang, now what am I going to do? Now I can't cover ground like I want to. And I'm just like, and I got my little backpack on. So I'm like, okay, I think I know how to get back home. So my plan was, now mind you, this is 5th grade. I wasn't very smart, okay? I was like, let me just go back to my house, and I'm just going to sleep on the side of the house. And before anybody realizes I'm there, I'm going to get out of there in the morning, okay? And then, until I figure something
You just
out.
gonna try it again in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay,
So I was walking back, and then all of a sudden I hear, boy, and I'm I'm in the neighborhood, right? And this is before I even get back to the home. Get your butt in this car. And it's my mom. And she's in the van. She's like, what's wrong with you? She gets to the car. She was like, I'm so mad. I don't even want to say that to you. We just gonna go to the house. We pull up to the house. It's like 15 cars. Like
They brought
all
a
my
search party.
cousins, yeah, all my cousins is there. My aunties, everybody, right? They got a whole search party going. I go in the house. My cousins, they act like it's just 4th of July. We party. They in the living room just partying, playing games, and laughing and stuff. Oh, gee, here. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And get right back into it. I'm over here sad with my head down, like I'm about to get a whooping. I don't know what's about to happen. So my aunties pull me in the room.
This guy.
My aunties pull me in the room, and they're like, okay, what's going on? What made you? And then my mom, she's in the other room. My dad came home from work. They're like, okay, they're talking to me, and I'm just like, I don't know, being an emotional the 6th grader, okay. And then, I believe my aunties, shout out to y'all, they did save me from a whooping, because I felt like I was just going to get a whooping,
you knew that was coming.
But, we had a conversation, and I still got in trouble, of course, had some standards to write, and,
I love standards.
But my parents did, they weren't, just mad at me. They did talk to me and say, the whole sentimental stuff and everything, and, yeah, that was the last time.
I think,
but
I honestly think you ran away just so one day you could tell that story on this podcast.
Because
that was
it was all purpose for this.
It was for such a time as this.
All things work together. For the
yeah, man, I did some weird stuff as a kid, but I'm thankful for a father who did not spare the rod, because I think some, I won't speak for everybody. Maybe kids these days are advanced enough to where they don't need as many whoopings, hopefully. Yeah. But some of them,
not from what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I feel like I needed them.
They have their place
because they needed to sit in with me. I was a little bit hard headed, so, prayerfully my kids aren't the same. We'll see what happens. So.
Hey man, listen. First of all, Rodney, we appreciate that story.
No, that was the highlight of my day.
That was great.
Absolutely, I can't wait to watch that.
I still
clip.
can't comprehend truly why you would run away. From your home,
yeah, it was a great situation actually.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, the house people wanted to be at and hang out at.
Everybody came over the house all the time.
I know,
it was a good time. I just
he left the fun house.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of kid does that?
Yeah.
Anyways, once again, shout out to all the fathers out there. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Y'all go show some love to the fathers in your life. This ain't Father's Day, okay? This ain't.
But it doesn't need to be.
Don't have to be.
This is just because. The men in our lives are important, and we wanted to take a moment and talk about that and share that and make sure that they knew that. Yeah. With that being said, this is the Three Good Guys podcast, y'all. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the share button, share with everybody.
Hit the subscribe.
If you don't do it,
button.
You don't love your daddy, and that's what I know.
That's
you love
it.
Your daddy.
That's it.
And if you don't got a daddy, you got a heavenly daddy.
A heavenly father.
And if you love him, you'll hit the like button and subscribe.
Amen.
Absolutely.
That's a word.
And if you don't do it, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. Listen, you on your own. You feel me?
Yeah.
But definitely hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
We are available here on YouTube. We are on Apple, and we are on Spotify as well. So however you're listening, be sure to listen. Be sure to watch. With that being said, I think that's the wrap for today.
All right.
See y'all later.
We out of here.